For decades, Africa has cried out for leaders who serve the people, not the puppeteers of power. One man heard that cry and did the unthinkable. He kicked out foreign troops, rejected IMF loans, paid off national debt, and raised civil servant salaries, all in just 2 years. No suits, no fancy speeches, just military prowess and fearless leadership. But who is this man? A rebel? A revolutionary? Or did God send him to save Africa? Watch closely, because what you're about to see may change how you view African power forever. Achievement 1. Economic rebirth. From debt to growth. Between 2022 and 2024, Burkina Faso experienced an economic turnaround under President Ibrahim Traoré. The country's gross domestic product, GDP, rose from $18.8 billion to over $22.1 billion, a rare achievement during a global period of economic instability. While other nations struggled with inflation and recession, Burkina Faso moved forward, not through foreign loans, but through local vision and focused leadership. Achievement 2. Rejecting foreign control. In a move that stunned the global financial community, President Ibrahim Traoré publicly rejected loans from the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. He declared, "Africa doesn't need the World Bank, IMF, Europe, or America." This wasn't just rhetoric, it was a clear stand for sovereignty, a refusal to trade long-term freedom for short-term funding. Because for Traoré, true independence meant cutting off the old chains, even when they came with money attached. Achievement 3. Slashing government salaries, uplifting civil servants. While many leaders increase government spending to reward their inner circle, President Traoré took the opposite route. He slashed the salaries of ministers and parliamentarians by 30% and redirected that money to raise civil servants' wages by 50%. It was a message to the people. This government would serve, not siphon it. Achievement 4. Clearing domestic debt. Debt has long weighed down African nations, not just international, but domestic too. President Traoré made it a priority to clear the country's internal debts, paying what was owed to its own citizens, businesses, and institutions. By settling domestic arrears, he restored trust in the government's word and pumped new life into the local economy. In a system where governments often delay or default, this act was more than financial. It was a promise kept. Achievement 5. Building Burkina Faso's first tomato processing plant. For decades, Burkina Faso grew tomatoes, only to export them unprocessed, losing value, jobs, and opportunity. But under President Traoré, that changed. He launched the country's first ever tomato processing plant, turning local harvests into sauces, pastes, and preserved products for local and regional use. Instead of relying on foreign imports, Burkina Faso is now feeding itself, with pride and with purpose. Achievement 6. Launching a modern gold mine. Burkina Faso is one of Africa's largest gold producers, but for years, much of that gold left the country unrefined and unprofitable for its people. In 2023, President Traoré launched a state-of-the-art gold mine, not just to extract, but to process gold within Burkina Faso. Instead of shipping raw wealth abroad, the nation now turns its resources into revenue at home. A new gold rush, this time for the people. Achievement 7. Agricultural revolution, sowing sovereignty. In Burkina Faso, food insecurity was once a shadow that loomed large over rural communities. But under President Traoré, an agricultural revolution has taken root. In just 2 years, the government distributed 400 tractors, 239 tillers, 710 motor pumps, 714 motorcycles, putting modern tools into the hands of everyday farmers. The results were undeniable. Tomato production rose from 315,000 to 360,000 tons. Millet climbed from 907,000 to 1.1 million tons. Rice increased from 280,000 to 326,000 tons. Food sovereignty is no longer just a dream. The seeds of reform, they were literal, and they began to grow. Achievement 8. Supporting cotton farmers. Launch of the National Artisanal Cotton Center. Cotton has always been one of Burkina Faso's most valuable resources. But for decades, small-scale farmers had little support, and even less access to local processing. In a groundbreaking move, President Traoré inaugurated the National Support Center for Artisanal Cotton Processing, the first of its kind in the country. This center isn't just a building, it's a lifeline, offering farmers the tools, training, and market access to turn raw cotton into real income, from field to fabric to future. Achievement 9, restoring cultural pride, banning British legal wigs in courts. For years, African judges wore white powdered wigs, a leftover from colonial rule that symbolized anything but justice for the people. In 2023, President Traoré said, "No more." He banned the use of British-style legal wigs and gowns in Burkina Faso's courts. In their place, traditional Burkinabe attire, a return to identity, dignity, and sovereignty. It may seem symbolic, but symbols matter, because a justice system that dresses like its people serves its people. The break. Before we dive into part 2 of President Traoré's incredible transformation, let's take a moment to explore some fascinating facts about the land he's fighting to uplift. Fact 1. Land of honest people. Burkina Faso means land of honest people. It was renamed by revolutionary leader Thomas Sankara in 1984, casting off its colonial name. Upper Volta. Fact 2. Africa's biggest film festival, FESPACO. Known as the Cannes of Africa, Burkina Faso hosts FESPACO, the continent's largest film festival. It's been celebrating African cinema in the capital, Ouagadougou, since 1969. Fact 3. Africa's white gold producer, Burkina Faso is one of Africa's top exporters of cotton, known as white gold. Today, under Traoré, that cotton is finally being processed at home. Fact 4. Birthplace of Thomas Sankara. This land gave birth to Thomas Sankara, the man known as Africa's Che Guevara. Many now call Traoré his spiritual successor. Fact 5. A youthful nation. With over 65% of the population under 25, the age of 25, Burkina Faso is one of the youngest nations in the world. And its future lies in their hands, a proud past, a youthful population. And now, a leader rewriting the script. Let's go deeper, to the heart of the people, to the rural reform, the security, and the legacy he's building. Achievement 10. Uplifting rural communities. Traoré didn't just invest in agriculture, he invested in people. From remote villages to small farming cooperatives, rural communities are no longer forgotten. With modern tools and fair prices, farmers can now feed their families and their nation. For many, hope no longer comes in promises, but in crops, in progress, in pride. But it wasn't just about food, it was about the future and the minds that would inherit it. Achievement 11. Security and sovereignty, a nation that defends itself. In a region long threatened by armed groups, foreign intervention, and internal instability, President Traoré made one thing clear: Burkina Faso will defend its land. By itself, for itself. Local security forces are being strengthened. Village defenders are being trained. And for once, the power to protect lies with the people. In a land surrounded by threats, he chose not fear, but preparedness. Achievement 12. Economic independence, a new vision for Africa. For too long, African wealth has flowed outward, raw materials exported, jobs lost, and debt borrowed. But under Traoré, Burkina Faso is flipping the script. This isn't just growth, it's a revolution of value, where wealth stays, multiplies, and builds futures inside Africa. Africa doesn't need pity, it needs power, production, and pride. Achievement 13. Ending French military operations in Burkina Faso. For years, French military forces operated on Burkinabe soil, a presence many saw as a leftover shadow of colonialism. In a historic move, President Traoré terminated all French military operations in the country. He closed bases, revoked agreements, and ordered a full withdrawal, reclaiming Burkina Faso's autonomy. This wasn't just a military withdrawal. It was a declaration that Burkina Faso would protect itself by itself. For the first time in years, the land belonged fully to its people, Achievement 14. Prohibiting French media operations in Burkina Faso. In Burkina Faso, the media was long dominated by foreign outlets, shaping stories, spinning narratives, and often silencing the local voice. He wasn't just fighting for land, he was fighting for truth. He prohibited French media from operating in Burkina Faso, suspending licenses, blocking biased coverage, and encouraging local storytelling. In Traoré's Burkina Faso, information isn't outsourced, it's reclaimed, because a free nation deserves a free and honest voice. Achievement 15. Building the nation, roads, connectivity, and infrastructure. After reclaiming sovereignty, President Traoré turned to what every great leader must build: the foundation beneath the people's feet. Roads, access, progress. Under his leadership, new roads are being built, existing ones are being expanded, and gravel paths are being paved, linking remote villages to cities, farmers to markets, and people to opportunity. Because for Traoré, development doesn't begin in boardrooms, it begins where the people walk. Achievement 16. A new kind of leadership. No flashy convoys, no billion-dollar estates, no golden thrones. President Traoré remains grounded, humble and unshaken, often walking among farmers, not feasting among elites. To many, he represents something long lost in African politics: a servant leader. Achievement 17. The rising voice of Pan-Africanism. But it wasn't just about Burkina Faso. Alongside Mali and Niger, Traoré stood tall, calling for unity, sovereignty, and a future led by Africans for Africans. And soon it became a rallying cry for all of West Africa. Achievement 18. The world watches. The world watched, but not with applause. From headlines to hashtags, the name Ibrahim Traoré began to spread, whispered with hope, pride, and power. Some were inspired, others were afraid, because a new Africa was awakening. Achievement 19. Energy independence. Solar Villages Initiative. Powering the future, President Traoré's government initiated rural solar electrification projects, lighting up villages that had never known electricity. From darkness to dignity, one light at a time. You cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness. Achievement 20. Honoring Sankora's legacy and restoring national heritage. To many, he is the spiritual successor of Thomas Sankara. But Traoré isn't just echoing Sankora's words, he's restoring his legacy. Sankara walked so we could rise. Traoré continues the journey. By honoring Sankara's dream of dignity, justice, and self-reliance, Traoré is not just building a future, he's reconnecting a nation with its soul. Achievement 21. Free healthcare for the vulnerable. Quietly, without the cameras, Traoré's government expanded free healthcare for pregnant women, children under 5, and the elderly. It wasn't just about treatment, it was about dignity. Achievement 22. Empowering local industries and jobs. Across Burkina Faso, local industries are rising: welding, tailoring, food production, and tech startups. It's not just about building today, it's about owning tomorrow. Achievement 23. Building for the future. Education and youth empowerment. Can local ownership transform your country too? Achievement 24. Launching the Burkina Digital Initiative. While others look to Silicon Valley, Traoré looked to the village. Through Burkina Digital, rural schools now have internet. Youth are connecting, startups are launching, not in Europe, but right here in West Africa. Where others sought power, he wore humility like armor. Final transition, legacy and reflection. So we ask again, did God send this man to save Africa? Tell us in the comments, share this story, because Africa is rising, and this is only the beginning. Conclusion: a man on a mission. Whether you're in Lagos, Nairobi, Accra, Johannesburg, or part of the diaspora, the message is clear. Get ready for the future breed we can never go back. We've seen struggle, we've faced storms, but in the heart of Africa, there is fire, there is faith, there is future. Leaders like Ibrahim Traoré remind us what's possible, not just in Burkina Faso, but across an entire continent. We are the dreamers, we are the builders, we are the warriors. And no matter what they say, we love Africa. We've seen struggle, we've faced storms, but in the heart of Africa, there is fire, there is faith, there is future. Africa is rising. Are you ready to rise with her? Subscribe, share, comment. We love Africa if you believe. This is the story of Burkina Faso, of President Ibrahim Traoré, and maybe, just maybe, of Africa's awakening, telling Africa's stories, shaping her future.